All right. Hey, good morning and good afternoon to anybody that is overseas. Welcome to our webinar today on modern CRM, needing a new partner. My name is Christopher Dwight, and I'm the Vice President of Customer Success here at Profisee. I've been here at Profisee for a little over 3 years, but I've been in this space around data management pretty much my entire career. Today's session, we're going to have two of people from Profisee presenting. They're going to be covering off this topic. The first is Bill O'Kane, who has joined Profisee coming up on not quite a year ago. Prior to joining Profisee and heading up our strategy, Bill was an analyst at Gartner and was the lead around master data management and data management at Gartner. He was there for 8 years and has done any number, thousands and thousands of interactions with customers over those years, helping organizations understand and form a plan around data management and data strategy. So he brings a tremendous amount of experience and knowledge to the space. Also joining us from Profisee is Adam Hansen. And Adam is one of the founders of this organization, has been working with the Profisee team over many years, but specifically has deep experience in working with customers to deploy master data management and build successful solutions using master data management technologies. So with these two gentlemen, we've got a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience. And with that, I will hand it over to Bill.
Thanks very much, Christopher. Thanks everybody for attending today. I know we're going to have a productive session. There is a question and answer panel in the GoToWebinar control panel. If you'd like to ask a question, I'm sure there will be some. Please enter it in there, and after Adam finishes his session, we'll come back and be sure to answer all of those. So we're going to talk today first about CRM applications and what they're designed to do. We're not here to vilify CRM solutions. The issue really revolves around how they're generally used and the sort of unconscious attribution of master data capabilities to them. In other words, people thinking that they're managing things for them that they're not, and that in fairness to them, that they're not designed to do. So the general statement is CRM applications are designed to manage interactions. They're not designed to manage customer data across those interactions. Or across anything else, to be honest. They're very transaction-centric, that's how they're designed, and they do a very good job at that. I do want to take a second also to say that although we're talking about CRM today, you could really make most of the statements, not all, but most of the statements we're going to make in regard to CRM about any business application that's there just to support a business process as opposed to data. CRM in particular is pretty prevalent in this problem space because of the way it's used. It's meant to be very dynamic. It's meant to help sales and service people do their jobs more quickly and a little bit more efficiently at some points. So again, it has to do really with the way CRM applications are used generally, and not so much with the technology itself that's unique. The technological limitations are there in almost any business application. So one, again, as I said, CRM solutions were created to give sales and service staff the tool to quickly document contacts, interactions, and next steps. Those of you, I'll date myself a little bit. I've heard it said that, back in the late 90s, CRM vendors told buyers that they would solve their customer data management problems. I never heard any of them say that, but I have had people out in the field say to me, boy, we thought that was going to solve this whole problem. And you hear the same thing about ERP. But what they're designed to do is, again, manage interactions, sales interactions, service interactions, and some of them have grown up to be a little bit more than that. We're not going to mention any particular vendor here today. And again, I wouldn't really even call out any one of them because virtually all of them have this issue because of the way they're used. Again, it's not always a technological issue. Some of the confusion arises because CRM, in fact, does store what turns out to be master data attribute values. So it stores copies of customer names, locations, address, email address, possibly a contact name in a B2B scenario. Again, it's easy to get confused and say, well, I'm putting those things in there. they're getting stored or persisted, it must be doing some kind of management of them, when in reality, when we'll break down what management is of data, it's pretty easily visible that they're not. And again, they're not really claiming to. So imparting that responsibility to them is a little bit unfair, and it can be quite damaging. I will say that they can, and this may be part of the illusion, they're perfectly capable of sort of linear scalar data entry validations. So surname has to be at least 1 character or 2 characters. Uh, things like that. Identifier has to be 5 bytes. All of that they can do, but it kind of stops there usually. And we'll talk about that a little more in a minute. And this is sort of the one that's buried the most, but might even be the most important, that separates, again, CRM and even some other business apps from MDM. They use fixed, static, possibly extensible data models, but the idea is they're modeled to support the management of those interactions and whatever else they do, sales and service, those kind of things. They're very event-driven. And even if the rest of the shortcomings, which will largely center around or cluster around data quality and data integration, even if those were solved, you could still be looking at something that had a very event-driven targeted data model. And the idea is, if you want to use that as a master, you may end up using something that has a model that doesn't really accurately reflect your entire business. It may well reflect how you interact with customers, but it may stop there. And again, there's a risk to that. So a little bit more esoteric concept, but still critical, maybe the most critical. So to summarize this part of our session, here's some examples. So CRM is not equipped with useful duplicate detection out of the box. So what do I mean by that? So there are some vendors out there that out of the box, they'll do things like, if you start to type in a duplicate customer, a customer that's already in there, that's already being sold to or serviced by another person within your organization, it may actually detect that you're putting in a duplicate, but only if you enter a whole bunch of attributes that are exactly the same value as something that's already in there. That's called deterministic matching by its academic name. And the idea is, you'd have to get everything exactly the same, and that's not the toughest part. The toughest part is, if it detected that, the only option it would give you is to keep the thing that you just typed in its entirety, or discard it and keep what was already in there in its entirety, and enter whatever interaction activity around that, whatever you kept that you care to. That lacks what we call an MDM, attribute level survivorship, which we'll talk about. So in other words, if I typed in all this stuff and it told me I had a duplicate, and I really, once it shows me what was already there, I like it, but the email address is wrong, it doesn't give me an easy way to kind of collapse all that stuff together with what I have here that might actually be of better quality. So again, that's because they're event driven, and they want you to be able to enter very quickly everything you're doing about your current interaction. So that's on the data quality side, just an example. On the integration side, there may be an API that helps you traverse a very complex event-driven data model for CRM, which supports, again, CRM very well. There are reasons that these solutions are out there and they sell so well and they're in business. We're here to talk about what they don't do and sort of that technical debt they create, and we'll get back to that later. But again, there's usually no what we would call data integration capabilities. There's no service layer fully fleshed out. And again, to allow you to access their data model, because again, their data models are usually very complex, and so those services would have to be correspondingly complex. So they may sort of grudgingly give you an API and sort of give you an introspection capability, but traversing that stuff is generally pretty complex. I once, about 10 years ago, integrated an ERP with a CRM system from 2 different vendors, and just the object models on both sides of that fence were so different from each other. It took a very good development team, a good solid 6 months, just to map the object models to each other and the data elements inside them. And there was nothing wrong with either one. They were just quite different. And again, you sort of run into the same thing with an MDM solution between them, which is what drove us to have those issues. Another example on the data quality side. So again, you can say things on the data quality front in any CRM system like, I need an @ sign and a dot to the right of it in an email address, and it will do that. And if you try to get around it, it'll stop you. But you can't say things like, I need to look at 5 other systems to see if this email address matches any of them and what the timestamps are. And it's possible, for example, I a few years ago built a system that needed a very, very trusted email address for legal reasons. And it turned out we had a system that automatically managed bounce backs. So if somebody left a company and their email address became invalid, as soon as something bounced back, and this system's job was to push research to clients so that were paying. So if it got there was a business process and a team behind it. If something bounced, there was someone that would get that in a workflow and jump on it right away. So we wanted that email address, if only even as a backup to the currently entered one. And we required an MDM system to do that. Trying to get CRM to go out there and look at that system and pass something back to its object model, again, became quite complex. So we ended up getting an MDM solution involved to do that. So again, just conditional data quality in general, even within the CRM system, if this equals this, then I want this. And if you extrapolate that to the larger ecosystem outside of the other systems that are involved, like billing or whatever it might be, it gets complex to impossible in most cases. So again, CRM applications are very well designed to manage interactions and event-driven activity with your customers. But you really need MDM to do what a lot of people think the CRM system is doing around managing that customer data across those interactions and potentially even across that larger ecosystem within your organization of IT solutions. So how does MDM help? So you hear the term multi-domain. Profisee is a multi-domain MDM platform. We're designed to integrate. So again, leaving aside the data quality part for a second, we're designed to integrate. We come out of the box with a service layer that changes as the model changes. And again, we'll get back to that modeling thing in a second because it's important and it's not obvious always. But again, we're designed to do exactly that, to talk to all those other systems, to execute that conditional logic, to say, I trust that research distribution system more for email address than any other one because I know that when they get an error, they fix it. They have to fix it because someone's paying for that research. So I'm going to use that system. I'm going to weight it more heavily than the others. So, just an example there. But again, MDM systems come with service layers. They're designed to be integrated. And support that kind of behind the scenes activity in addition to performing UI-based stewardship. I told you we would come back to the data model, and here it is again. Something that gets lost here is that multi-domain MDM, that's another word for model agnostic or model flexible MDM. That means you can model whatever you like. And most people say, well, that's great, I can model any domain I want, but it doesn't stop there. The beauty of that concept is that it allows you to model your data the way your business actually runs. So again, your CRM system is really modeled to support 1 or 2 processes, sales, service, whatever else is out there. And it might be extended to add some attributes to that on a customized basis. But again, it's really there to manage 1 or 2 processes. Most businesses have, whether they built it, whether it's explicitly built or implicitly used, some sort of logical enterprise data model that shows how they really do business. They may not have actually modeled that, but it's there nonetheless. And so MDM being model flexible is really your first chance to build something that looks like your customers really look. So for example, if you really have 3 subtypes of customers, you can actually build a model for that. You don't have to treat them all the same way as you do in most CRM systems. You have to kind of, that what customer is a customer is a customer. You can be a little more nuanced and treat these in different ways in terms of business rules and even data quality checks and even that external integration that we discussed earlier. So again, you're moving from an app-driven, very efficient for 1 or 2 process data model to something that really covers how your business works. And just to go back to that use case we'll see a little later from Adam, MDM solutions not only provide robust duplicate detection on entry into CRM and other solutions, it does provide that attribute level survivorship. It'll put up a UI, a pop-up window, for example, that might say, here's what's in there, here's what you're telling me, pick which ones you want to actually go into that record in CRM. So not only am I not going to let you create a duplicate, I'm going to allow you to update specific attributes during this data entry process to what it is that you have in front of you, if that's appropriate. And in some cases, I may even allow you to create a duplicate if there are good business reasons to do that, but I'm going to make you actively do it. You're going to have to tell me, I know this is a duplicate, I want to create it anyway. That might get escalated by workflow to a level 2 person that figures that out by calling this customer or emailing them and letting them know that there's some prior activity. Do they want that joined up or do they want it kept separately? And again, there are good reasons to do both, and MDM can provide those capabilities. So a good way to think of this in terms of data quality is there are quality issues within CRM, such as duplicate records and things of that nature, because they're not really designed to manage that. And I took literally, I'm not exaggerating, probably hundreds of calls from client organizations while I was an analyst, where the problem statement was, I have multiple sales and service. They didn't call up and say I have duplicate data in my CRM system. What they would say is I have multiple sales and service people hitting the same accounts and prospects. And I figured out it's because my CRM system has entries. They're allowed to enter new entries every time they come upon a prospect or they like, or a client they think isn't being serviced by anyone else. And eventually clients complain and prospects complain. And on the prospect side, it was pretty common for someone to say, I found out somebody else was hitting my prospect from the prospect. You know, so-and-so was here yesterday. Why are you here today? And by the way, they offered me a better deal than you're offering me. So it can just, you know, get bigger and bigger and uglier and really not result in some very sort of suboptimal business situations. So MDM solutions can automatically execute cross-system conditional data quality processes, again, checking other applications based on trust to acquire the best email address. Or any other, I keep using email address, it doesn't have to be that. MDM solutions are designed out of the box to be integrated with business apps and analytics platforms. So the business apps is what you call operational MDM, usually real-time, bi-directional, allowing updates back and forth, and then analytics, which is analytical MDM, which is usually downstream, where you use the same MDM hub to populate your data warehouse, often in real time, coming from a bunch of batch ETL on the legacy side. So again, you can lower the latency. That's another big attraction of this as well. And again, you know, this is probably obvious. MDM supports broad-based data stewardship from the data management perspective. It lets you manage data elements from data rules, not from process rules that might conflict with what other applications or your analytics platforms need to see. That's independent of things like CRM and customer experience and ERP, but it can consider them. So the rules can be considered and executed based on some of their requirements or all of their requirements, but they don't have to be solely driven by that. And that again goes back to that idea of having a data model that accurately reflects your business and is not limited to any particular process like CRM or ERP or even a broader CX system if you've gone that far. So, you know, what I would leave you with sort of this result that comes from all this. The idea here is that CRM systems do provide value. I see we're getting a question on this already, so I'll come back to it at the end of the session. But what you're also getting in addition to that value is what we call technical or data debt. So there's some sort of data quality debt that's happening because these systems out of the box aren't designed to manage that. And it might be an acceptable level for a while. So I used to joke that I do a pretty big business in 5 to 7-year-old CRM implementations, because it's not until you get process breaks like those multiple sales reps hitting the same prospects that you start to realize there's something that has to be fixed. And that really is paying off that debt. So if you look at your revenue increasing up a line graph from left to right as the usage of the CRM increases and the salespeople become more efficient within themselves, not across themselves, which is what we're talking about, but within themselves, they will become more efficient. Your revenue will likely go up, but there's this red line that's tracking it underneath. Hopefully it's far underneath, but as time goes on, it may more and more catch up to it that says, I forget what the industry statistics are, but even if you said, and I think this is conservative in CRM, 40% of your data is bad in whatever way, it violates those data quality constraints of consistency, uniqueness, all that. Even if it's 40%, if you let that go on in any sizable organization for 3 or 4 years, you're gonna start approaching 7 figures just to fix that. And that's if you don't install an MDM solution. to keep it clean going forward so that you don't immediately start to incur that debt again by using the same processes against what might be some cleaned up data. And we'll do a future webinar on how standalone data quality is different from what we're talking about here. But for today, I would just leave you with that, is that, you know, you might be do okay for quite a while, but you are incurring some debt under the covers around data quality that eventually you'll likely have to pay off. And on the integration side, it's pretty much all opportunity cost. You're not going to be able to enable automated business processes that require things outside of the CRM system to validate and even to execute. So again, think in terms of that technical debt accruing under this thing that is providing value. We would never say that they're not valuable and that they don't do what they say they do. But again, they incur debt, and you want to be aware of it. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do, is just make people aware of it. And again, someone did ask a question on that. We'll come back to it later. So with that, I'll hand it over to Adam Hansen, my esteemed colleague, who will take you over the practical aspects of all this.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill, and good morning, good afternoon to those of you attending the webinar today. We're now going to step it down a bit and focus on the solution and services that Profisee provides to fulfill the business opportunities that Bill highlighted earlier. First, we'll present the Profisee integrator and CRM application connectors. Then we'll illustrate the prepackaged Profisee solution to fast-track the delivery of an integrated MDM environment. Next, we will describe the accompanying consulting services and methodology. And then finally, we'll close with a recap of the benefits realized from using the Profisee product, solution, and services. So fundamentally, at a high level, technology adoption must be traced to the improvement in business outcomes. And Bill touched on much of this earlier. And this is a message that we continually emphasize, measure, and promote at Profisee. And the CRM MDM partnership certainly qualifies here. What we have experienced working with hundreds of customers worldwide over the years is that the need for that partnership typically originates when customer service, support, and sales activities are adversely impacted. And some of the common symptoms might resemble any of the four that we've listed here. Duplicate occurrences of an account or contact are frequently the first sign, for they are immediately perceptible to the end user. However, more insidious data integrity issues often arise later. As an example, sending a marketing email to an invalid address or approaching a customer as though he or she were a prospect. A full list here would take more time than we have for this webinar, but ultimately business personnel then begin to mistrust their CRM and seek other methods to accomplish their work. And so, as I will describe shortly, Profisee is very focused on helping you overcome these issues so that you can maximize your use of CRM, really using for what it was designed to do, while relying on master data management to help produce those desired business outcomes that I mentioned a moment ago. And some of those are listed here on this slide. So the illustration here depicts a wide range of functions that Profisee provides. For today's webinar, we're really going to focus on those that are highlighted here in blue. And that really is the essence of what we're talking about with respect to managing the MDM CRM lifecycle. So starting with data verification, that really refers to the validation and standardization of customer names, addresses, emails, phone numbers, and other key CRM related information. And the data verification process, which is typically invoked as customers are manually added or ingested real time from external systems, serve a number of purposes, including validation to enforce data integrity, standardization to enforce data consistency, and enrichment to promote data flexibility. And the three collectively aid during the customer deduplication and mastering process to deliver the best and most reliable representation of an account, contact, or other CRM related element. And the Profisee integrator and corresponding CRM connectors support that and provide the enabling infrastructure to exchange that data between the systems. And so at Profisee, as Bill mentioned earlier, we promote this notion of first getting it clean, where customer data are loaded into the MDM system and then cleansed and verified before synchronizing with the other downstream CRM systems. Then through real-time integration and supporting processes, you can keep it clean. You made the investment in customer data integrity. Now let us help you preserve that. One aspect of keeping it clean is a method that we promote here at Profisee, and we call this look up before create. And the intent here is to prevent the creation of duplicate data by presenting a list of similar customers during data entry using our flexible matching and survivorship process. And you can implement that and enact that not only within your MDM system, but also within any one of those other downstream CRM systems that we mentioned earlier. So providing a form in the capabilities for your data stewardship to capture a list of similar customers or accounts or contacts before they're being added, and allow him or her to choose one that might best represent the customer that they're seeking to add to prevent the data duplication, and then be able to update or enrich the customer within the MDM system. So with respect to Bill's earlier comments and what is not reflected here in this diagram, the myriad systems integrated with the MDM hub, and our focus here really is on customer relationship management. So taking it down to a little bit more detail, this is an animated illustration of a Profisee application working in tandem with Dynamics CRM and Salesforce. So within Profisee, we maintain identifiers to connect the source customer CRM records via a feature that we call system-aware identity management. So in this particular example, if you were to change a contact name from Bob to Bobby, this would trigger an event to the event subscriber in a subscriber configuration. And that's the configuration then would determine how best to process the event based on the policies that you've established. And so in this instance, we'll route that change to notify the Dynamics and CRM Salesforce instances. And you'll see the change reflected in those downstream applications, thereby preserving the integrity and consistency of the data. Now, conversely, you can perform the same operation by synchronizing changes within your CRM system down to your MDM hub. So in this particular example, we're tracing the change to Tom through to the MDM system, thus preserving the integrity of the customer data. So providing that level of bidirectional real-time integration that Bill mentioned earlier. And we support a wide variety of different CRM connectors, beginning with Salesforce. We also offer and support for a variety of different versions of Microsoft Dynamics CRM and the more current versions around the Microsoft Dynamics customer engagement. So hopefully you have a bit of a better understanding of our goals and product capabilities. Now let us turn our attention to what we offer from a services perspective to help you accelerate your adoption of what Bill and I described earlier. First, we provide a pre-built data model that is designed to integrate out of the box with the CRM systems that I mentioned earlier. And Bill touched on this notion of this flexible data model. And so we provide the capabilities to be able to adapt and accommodate these different data models within Dynamics 365, CRM, and Salesforce. So we support all of the key CRM objects, including accounts and contacts. As well, we provide pre-built data verification strategies with supporting matching and survivorship policies as well. So you can take advantage of a lot of the work that we've done supporting other organizations worldwide and leverage the best practices through these templates that we provide. The application connectors require some data mapping elements between systems, and that's something that we provide out of the box as well. And then finally, we also provide data stewardship forms that you can adapt and tailor to your specific needs and requirements within your organization. In addition to the pre-built artifacts that I described earlier, we offer consulting services to accelerate your implementation. And the activities that we perform are highlighted here, ranging from conducting a customer data assessment all the way through to the lifecycle testing to ensure application quality. And the goal ultimately is to leave you with an installed, configured, and tested production-ready solution. As well, we want to place you in a position to manage and enhance the solution over time once we leave. And so our documentation and knowledge transfer occurs throughout the project to enable you to do so. So Bill touched on many of the benefits to be realized by partnering CRM and MDM. And our solution and services are intended to help you realize the opportunity to accelerate your time to value, to better leverage your CRM investment, to take advantage of Profisee's best practices and methodologies, and to better prevent data anomalies from being introduced to your business in the first place. So to kind of tie this all together with the material that Bill presented earlier, as he mentioned, MDM solutions should automatically execute cross-system conditional data quality processes. And the example that he used was checking other applications to build trust, to acquire the best representation of an email address. And this is something that we provide as well that I mentioned earlier. Bill also discussed MDM solutions that are designed out of the box to be integrated with business applications and analytics platforms. We presented out of the box integration with customer relationship management systems. As I mentioned earlier, MDM is purpose built to integrate with other systems requiring verified, validated, and enriched customer data, including data warehouses and other analytical systems. So while the focus of this particular presentation and webinar was around customer relationship management, we have worked with a wide variety of other organizations to integrate with other analytical systems such as business intelligence applications, data warehouses, and other integrated reporting solutions. And then Bill talked about this notion of broad-based data stewardship, independent of but considering CRM and other broad customer experience requirements. And that look up before create feature that I mentioned earlier is one aspect of this flexible customer experience that you can create and something that we provide as part of the Profisee solution. So they're not only, you can create bespoke customer interfaces, but also develop other applications that are tailored and suited to maximize your business users' use of the system and develop those tailored customer experiences to promote and implement most efficient customer experience that you can provide. So that concludes my portion of the presentation, and we'll go ahead and open up the virtual floor to any questions. So I'll turn it back over to Bill.
Okay, thanks, Adam. Great job there. So we do have a large question. There's actually a shorter one. A couple of people asked, will the presentation be shared after the session? I know we do post recaps to our website that are fairly detailed. I'll ask one of our people internally while I'm taking the other larger question.
Yeah, Bill, I can take that real quick. Yeah, we do send an email out to everyone that is registered with a link to the on-demand webinar and the slide deck. It takes us a little bit of time to get it turned around, just get the video cleaned up and posted on Wistia. So you'll probably get the email either later today or early tomorrow. But yes, you will get the presentation and slide deck via email before the end of the week.
Great, thank you, Ashley. So the larger question on here is one that I've seen many times in many forums. Someone says, you know, they've just started at a company, they're about to go live with a CRM solution, one of the popular ones. It doesn't matter which one, because this would be the case in any event. And apparently at their last job, they saw this done without consideration of any of these issues. It sounds like they don't even think that CRM is going to solve their MDM issues. They're not even considering those issues in the first place. And at their last job, this did not go well. The CRM implementation after a couple of years really broke down over data, and they had to go back and clean it up at a large expense. Doesn't say if they acquired MDM at that point, but she wants to know how to solve this now, how to do the right thing and solve this, but probably doesn't believe that this can be stopped. It sounds like it's a couple of weeks away. And the answer is you're right, it probably can't be stopped, and you know, you're new, the politics have to be considered. But what I would suggest in general, and I've seen this work, but the first thing I'm going to say is I don't want to trivialize what I'm about to say because it's a lot of work. But going back to my description of that concept called technical or data debt earlier, is you can start to do some analysis to document that. So if you have access to, and if you don't, you should try to get it, access to adoption rates. How many people are actually starting to use this CRM over time? Actually, in some instances, people that I've helped have been able to get those statistics from the CRM vendor because they were used to sell the software. So they will actually have adoption estimates and targets for the first year, for the first 2 years. And then you might need to make some assumptions about 40% data quality, which is probably conservative in terms of 40% bad data in these things, because again, they're used so dynamically and quickly and in an event-driven way, in a very agile way, that it tends to create a lot of this debt pretty quickly. And the question will just be, do you want to pay it off? So your role becomes that of, I'm just letting you guys know what usually happens here. I've seen it before. And the thing you have to be sensitive to, obviously, is how much of that can you say without looking like Chicken Little saying the sky is falling. But I've seen this work on multiple occasions where someone who has earned some trust says, look, I'm not saying you have to stop what you're doing, but there is a cost to this. And the key thing is the longer we wait to address it, the more expensive it's going to be. And I'm not even talking about acquiring an MDM solution, which is a good idea anyway, because of that cross-system benefit that you get and cross-process benefit and cross-analytics benefit. But there's a timing aspect to how much debt is tolerable, and usually what you don't want to wait for is the idea that processes are starting to break because of the data debt. And that means it's time to pay it, and we have to do it very quickly. And we might not even want to think about keeping it clean. We might want to just get it clean. And again, there's just all sorts of risks that get incurred there. So again, to recap, you're not going to be able to stop it. That would be kind of a naive thing to say that you could. But I would suggest, if you feel that strongly and you feel safe doing it, to a certain extent, is start to document what it is we're talking about here. What's the data quality like? At what point do we think these processes are going to start to break? And you're going to have to learn about the organization to see what it can tolerate and at what point it won't be able to tolerate process breakage. So again, I would leave it with that. And again, it's some work, but if you feel like you can get it done without jeopardizing yourself and again, being seen as an informed resource, then it's definitely worth doing, because it will happen. I have no doubt about that. Eventually, there will start to be some process problems. And again, if you prove to yourself that it won't be, at least you won't have come off like you tried to stop something that wasn't going to have a problem. So I hope that's helpful. We do have a few more now. Someone says, is the Salesforce connector something that comes with Profisee, or do we need to buy it separately?
Yes, it is. It will require an extra purchase, so it's not something that it comes as part of our integrator, but it is a separate module that you'll purchase.
Great, thanks, Adam. Next one, I'm doing a vetting process for an MDM solution. Do you have an existing webinar to explain the business case for having MDM rather than using ERP as MDM? So I'm going to say two things to that. One is everything we said here about CRM also can apply to ERP from a technical perspective, but it tends to be less of a problem because, and it's not that it's not a problem at all, but ERPs generally have fairly more rigorous business process definition behind them than CRM systems do. ERPs aren't meant to be agile like CRM systems are. So there's usually a little bit more attention paid to not doing things, even if it's manual procedures to prevent duplicate detection, for example, but they still have the same issue. So, again, using an ERP to master data generally doesn't work out completely correctly or well or optimally. Something that bears this out is, most ERP vendors also sell something that does either MDM or what Gartner calls ADM, application data management functionality. It's quite common for people that buy those to also go out and buy best of breed MDM solutions, just because they're more flexible and they don't actually have that benefit/liability of the ADM stuff from the ERP vendor, because they don't come out of the box with that data model. So that's attractive in a way, but it doesn't solve all of the issues they're looking for. On the business case side, we do have a webinar up on our website. I first did it a few months ago. It's actually one of our more popular ones, but I'll do a little commercial here as well. One of the things it talks about, but not very deeply, is this process we have called Business Impact Roadmap, where we can actually take a look at sort of what the costs are that CRM is incurring we can help you take a look at. It's a very, very robust framework. I did a lot of MDM business case writing while at Gartner, if anybody's familiar with that. I think Profisee's framework digs a little deeper. It's based on the Deloitte value map and a couple of other things. And we have someone that does it full time. So again, if that's going to be an issue, we actually have a process to help with that. And really the only bottleneck or the only sort of critical path item for it is how much time you as a buyer can dedicate to it. It will need stakeholder participation. It helps figure out what people are willing to commit to. It's pretty comprehensive and robust, but it's only if everybody commits on the buyer side, it generally is only a 2 or 3 week process. So again, how long it takes is really up to the consumer. If you can only dedicate an hour a week to it, it's going to take longer. But we do have it. I would start with that webinar on the website, but again, we can certainly answer it more directly as well. So thank you for that. It's a very good question. Okay. So again, what I would say is if you go to the resources or blogs page on the Profisee website, it's right there. It's available to the public. But again, what I would say is, contact us directly offline if you're interested in acquiring the product or already have it and you're interested in one of these business impact roadmap exercises. Because again, that's a very insightful question. That's when MDM fails outright, it's usually because there wasn't an common understanding of what the business benefits of doing it would be. And there are benefits both above and below the line. There are cost savings benefits for eliminating CRM technical debt, but there are also things above the line that you can start to do that CRM maybe doesn't support, like cross-selling and upselling across other product lines or regions, for example. So again, we'd be happy to help with that. So I think that drains the queue here, at least the ones I can see. So with that, I will thank everybody for joining and wish everybody a safe rest of the week. Please, again, be safe in the current environment. And again, we'll be doing more of these as time goes on. And so please follow us on LinkedIn to stay posted. Thanks very much, everyone. Have a great day.